Ice cream and shit. Thank you, Yelva, and thank you, Dave, for the lemons. And shit. So, I don't know how I'm not fucking orthorexic yet. Because this caught me off guard, this next story from 60 Minutes. And I'm, of course, going to react to it. Because I've worked on aircraft. But, just to give you the too long didn't watch version. The asbestos of the airline industry killing flyers. From 60 Minutes Australia. So we just got done watching about how we're going to go blind if we eat all the glyphosates and not enough meats. But it turns out that no matter how healthy you are, there's other things in the world that are probably going to fuck you up. It's not all about what you put in your mouth necessarily, though this kind of qualifies for that. So let's take a look at what else these corporations are doing to us and are unwilling to do anything about.
2006. A Cathay Pacific Jumbo is flying into Hong Kong at night through a thunderstorm. Piloting the giant passenger jet is Australian Ben Holmes. There is nothing wrong with the aircraft, but Ben is losing control. His reflexes and reactions destroyed by years of breathing contaminated air in his cockpit. It is the last flight Ben will ever make, another victim of the airline industry's darkest secret.
So you may be saying, well, what the fuck's wrong with him? Is he a vegan? Did he eat something fucked up? Is he on the fish and chips diet?
We now realise that we were being seriously poisoned by what we were breathing and the cabin air we were breathing at work almost every day.
So get this. Motherfucker was breathing in fumes from the engine because the air routes through the engine compartment. So whenever there was a leak, an oil leak, and I can tell you from working on aircraft, this is a common thing in aircraft. It was essentially like burning it and misting it into the air that everybody on the fucking plane was breathing. And this shit is labeled with hazmat. And I know this from experience. There's actual advisories that if you breathe this shit in, it will fuck you up. Cancer, all kinds of problems. You know, depends on the chemical. Yeah, yes, Dave 101. This isn't even tinfoil hat shit. This is a legit thing. This is 60 Minutes. It put this out. Not that they don't do tinfoil hat shit every now and then, but you never know. But I can tell you, this is completely, as a former maintenance person on an Air Force aircraft, I can tell you, the B-1 bomber, that's what I used to work on, that this is a thing. This is real. This isn't tinfoil hat shit. This is a legit thing, and they're not doing anything about it, and they're caught not doing anything about it by the media here in this case, which I wish the media would do all this shit to Monsanto, which I think they have a couple times, but not enough to apparently for everyone to give a shit. But yeah, if you're flying somewhere and you got that air coming out and you're breathing it, you might be getting cancer. You might be getting autoimmune problems. You might go blind. You might get lightheaded. You might have brain and nerve damage. How's that trip to fucking Disney looking?
For Ben and all pilots and passengers, the air they're exposed to inside an aircraft is pumped into the cabin through the engine. Toxic oils and other substances in the engine can leak and contaminate.
And that's, yep. Seems like a design flaw to me. I mean, does this seem like a logical way to do this? Like right here where you'll have all these leakages. I know you got hydraulic fluid that can leak in there. You've got coolant. Coolant is actually throughout the plane too. All the electronics have coolant. That shit leaks all the time. I used to have to fucking deal with that a lot. But yeah, and that was carcinogenic. I was all up in that shit. That shit was all over my skin. I definitely breathed that shit from time to time in the military. But the military has more stringent fucking requirements on shit than apparently the civilian airlines do. But yeah, you know, enjoy your cancer.
That cabin air supply.
You know, boat travel and car travel and trains are looking a lot more attractive right now.
You're being exposed during these contaminated air events to hundreds of different chemicals. Those chemicals are carcinogens, they are hazardous chemicals, and they are...
I wonder how Vegetable Police is feeling about his flying now. When he flew to Thailand. You know, he's talking about getting his sanitary fucking apartment now, but...
going to cause harm to people.
For more than a decade, former British Airways pilot Tristan Lorraine has documented dozens of other pilots and flight crew who've developed serious neurological disorders because of contaminated cockpit air.
The contaminated air...
So, you know, they've been overdosed with it, but that doesn't make me feel any better by just being the one-time doser, because you never know how much of that shit will really push you over the edge. And I've probably been dosed a couple times. I've taken some long flights, and you know, and while I was in the military, I worked in the shit, so I've definitely had my fair share of this shit. Maybe that's why I'm so fucking mentally healthy.
Air is affecting the pilot's ability to cognitively function, and if he starts to make mistakes, then the end result will be a plane crash.
We'll get everybody off the aircraft if we need to.
How would you feel if you were sitting and it looked like that in there? That's fucking great.
Contaminated air or fume events occur regularly on aircraft, no matter how old or new they are. They've caused near disasters like this flight into Malmö, Sweden in 1999, where both pilots were almost unconscious on landing.
Wonder how the passengers felt.
And fume events are also suspected in multiple
Last I checked, children and babies are on these flights.
aircraft crashes, like this tragedy in Greece in 2005, where a Boeing 737 slammed into a hillside, killing all 121 passengers and crew on board.
So how many people have died as a result of pilots overexposed to the shit, losing consciousness while flying? Makes you wonder, huh?
So in all of these cases where the plane has crashed and they put it down to pilot error, I would say some of those will absolutely be due to pilots being affected by contaminated air.
But in 2002, he had his first experience of contaminated air in a Boeing 747.
And now he's disabled.
Becoming so physically ill, he couldn't take his shift at the controls.
This makes you wonder about a lot of shit, you know. This is the airline industry fucking you over. You got Monsanto fucking you over. What about all these buildings we go into? What about the furniture? What about all... maybe VP's onto something with his fucking fears about off-gassing. You know. Now, there's not much you can do. I mean, the only thing you can do is not fly, but then what if you got to go to Europe or some shit? You can take the boat? Still. I think these companies should do something about this. That some regulation should come in and force them to rework it so that we aren't getting fucking dosed. I mean, how hard would it be to have an air intake on the front of the plane? You know, the air's already flowing. You don't even need to fucking power it. You just put a little air intake, have a little fan that spins with the wind. You could even generate some power that way. Might lose a little bit of fuel mileage, but hey, at least we wouldn't die.
I was having some sort of epileptic event. That's what it was like.
But if the immediate effects were shocking, the long-term impact on Ben was even worse. He began suffering more serious health problems, including nerve and brain damage.
Yeah, it caught me off guard too. I was looking around and this popped up in my feed. The algorithm sought to bless me with this, even though 60 minutes might trigger my video, but I'm doing fair use here. I'm going to edit this down for the YouTube version of it, but we'll watch the whole thing here because it's only 14 minutes. But yeah, this fucking... I mean, what do you do? What can you do? Nothing. Same thing we can do about glyphosate, which is a whole lot of nothing. Sue them when you get sick. Can't sue them to prevent us from getting sick, of course. If only we could.
Brought my health to the point where I can barely function.
It took barely 4 years from his first exposure to contaminated air for this former top pilot to realise he was no longer fit to fly. Were you making it up?
That's true, and then they only pay out millions. They make billions in profit, and then they pay out millions in settlement. No motivation to change their methods. And a lot of these companies, when you do regulate them to stop a certain behavior, they'll replace it with another behavior that is in their best interest and will fuck us up in another way. Like DuPont, for example, just changed chemicals on their no-stick pans after the whole DuPont debacle. These companies don't care, and they're not incentivized to care. There's no penalty. You know, they're going to lose a little bit of money out of their profit margin. We don't hit them where it hurts. There's no like jail time that goes into the CEOs or board members that make the decisions that lead to this shit. And as long as that's the case, it's business as usual. They're not going to change their behaviors because they can save money. It would cost them a lot of money to rework all of these planes. They're not going to do it. They won't even put air detectors in, which the video gets into a little later.
No.
Were you looking for a payout?
No.
And
No.
And I got to tell you, the corporate motherfucker that they get in this interview is
There's very little to gain from getting a very small payout at age 34 with 2 small kids.
Ben's employer, Cathay Pacific, offered him no medical assistance and eventually fired him. His health, they said, was his problem.
So they didn't give a shit about his job, and they also didn't give a shit about his disability. I hope he got a settlement out of the deal. I'd have been all over the fucking suing him. Because that's a workers' comp case if I ever saw one.
After many years and many blood tests, it was revealed he had high levels of toxic poisons called TCPs, components of jet engine lubricating oil that had leaked into his cabin air supply on at least 2 different flights.
Do you accept that these people are suffering?
I accept that there are people suffering from some symptoms and signs, whatever the origin, yes.
Do you accept that these people are suffering because of exposure to contaminated air in the planes in which they're flying?
I don't know that.
I don't like this guy.
No.
Professor Michael Bagshaw is former Chief Medical Officer for British Airways and currently a consultant to Airbus, part of an industry which for decades...
Yeah, I got affiliate, and it was pretty cool. It seemed to be pretty quick, too. So I'm hoping to... Now I'm shooting for verified partner, UFA.
has consistently refused to even install monitors on aircraft to detect and warn of contaminated air aboard.
Doesn't the airline have a responsibility to make sure that they're doing everything they can to make those planes safe, to keep those people safe?
Yes, and I think they are doing.
They're not.
So...
They're not monitoring.
She's like, they're not.
Yeah.
Because there is no way of monitoring the air at the moment, but
That's
a lot...
bullshit. There's all kinds of bad air detectors out there. Go on fucking Amazon, motherfucker.
A lot of money is being spent at the moment in trying to develop monitors. The monitors do not exist at the moment. They're in
That's
the process
bullshit, too.
type stage.
Is that at the heart of it, or is it that it's easier just to put your head in the sand, pretend this isn't happening?
No.
Yeah, he's got this condescending look on his face, but he's squirming, too. You can kind of see a little bit of squirminess going on.
Don't incur the cost and belittle the people who claim that they have been damaged.
And that is the big corporation playbook for demonizing opposing science and even hardcore medical evidence that they're fucking up. You know, there's no evidence. We didn't do the epidemiology study to prove that there's no evidence. We didn't fund the study to show this. We aren't going to fund the study that shows this, and no one else is paying for that shit. So we're going to get away with all of this because there is no evidence that shows that we're fucking up.
Every other enclosed environment, whether it be a submarine, whether it be in a deep mine, they all have contaminated air detection systems. So why doesn't an airplane have it?
Because
I would
the
suspect
money and
it's because
shit.
they know the things would be going off so often.
That's the big financial issue. I mean, it would cost them lots of money every time the fucking thing went off. The only solution I see is for them to completely redesign it, which costs lots of money. You'd have to tear up all of these planes and put the fucking, you know, scoop in the front and get it away from the engine, keep it away from the hydraulics, and, you know, and there's a lot of hydraulics in the wings and all of that shit, so it would probably have to be in the body of the plane, I would imagine. It's a nightmare financially, and unless they are sued to the point or regulations come in to where you have to do this, that's not going to happen, though. It's not going to happen. Mark my words, you're going to be breathing this shit whenever you fly to Disneyland and all these other fucking
At
places.
risk. 60 Minutes conducted its own tests on random flights in Australia and internationally. In the cabins of...
So what they're doing right now is they're swabbing the surfaces to test for the residue of these chemicals.
Over half the aircraft we tested, we found the residue of toxic engine oils, which passengers on those flights must have inhaled.
If it's on the surface, you're inhaling it.
We've had 6 years of hell that could have been prevented.
6 years ago, Samantha Sabatino and her
Went to Disney World.
family were on a flight to Florida when contaminated air leaked into the cabin. She, her family, and dozens of other passengers on that flight have suffered long-term neurological and other health problems.
You've got
I don't even see that they're saying that they got paid for that either. They didn't have a lawsuit or anything.
doubt that what you're suffering today is through exposure to contaminated air on that flight.
I have no doubt, no, not whatsoever. There's a lot of passengers on that plane and they've all had and all still have ongoing medical problems.
All these people, they don't know each other. The only thing in common is they're on a particular flight where there has been a fume event. Now they're all sick. 6 years on, they're all sick with very similar symptoms. How do you explain that?
I can't explain that.
Well, could one explanation be that they were
Well,
poisoned?
wouldn't you fucking have thought if you had to go on 60 Minutes that you might want to have a fucking explanation for this shit? Like you didn't know what you were being interviewed for? Is that the thing? You might have want to prepare it a little bit. Maybe you fucking read a study or something. You should be passing out fake studies like no tomorrow. Instead, you're like, I can't explain it. I don't know. Don't know shit. I'm a piece of shit.
It is one expert. It is an association.
Oh, you're epidemiology and shit. Look at the look on this guy's face. Wow. Wow.
But we don't know that they were poisoned. We
Do
don't
they
know
at least get discount air travel now that we know we're being poisoned?
that.
Tell me, what else could have happened to them?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, isn't it your fucking job to find out? I'm
Not
triggered.
knowing
I'm fucking triggered by that guy. Like, and I even watched this once already. I'm re-triggered. Like,
is a difficult position to maintain when even the manufacturers of the jet engine oil acknowledge its danger to health.
so these are the warnings. I can tell you, having worked on planes, that these are the exact warnings you get. You get what's called the MSDS or whatever. That's the military one, but I'm sure there's a civilian counterpart that tells you all the things that the chemical will do to you. They have it for coolant oil, they have it for hydraulic oil, they have it for fuel. All of the warnings. Don't inhale this shit, don't drink the shit, don't do all of this shit, don't put this safety gear on when you're handling the shit. You had to wear gloves, you had to do all this fucking shit, you should wear a fucking respirator. You know, all of these things that if you're working on the shit, you had to do. Shit's spraying right into the fucking faces of every passenger and pilot, which is even more dangerous. You fuck a pilot up, and then he fucks up with the plane.
This product contains TCP. Overexposure to TCP by breathing of oil mist may produce...
Yep. There it is. It's okay to have, you know, you're in the precaution manual, but you can still breathe the shit because money and shit.
nervous system disorders including gastrointestinal disturbances, numbness, muscular cramps, and paralysis.
How many people have experienced some of these, you know? Who have complained of this stuff? Gastrointestinal disturbances. Things that make you go, huh? I mean, a lot of people experience that and think it's their diet. How many people have attributed these symptoms to something that had nothing to do with this? You know, maybe you just started out on keto and then you took a flight down to Disney World. And then you come back up and you got these symptoms and then you're like, oh shit, this keto ain't working for me.
I accept that there are people who are unwell, and these people, health may well be being harmed by breathing in fumes, but there is no independent scientific evidence.
Well, gee, I wonder why, because you probably suppress the motherfuckers whenever they do try to do a study, and then you do a counter study with your bought and paid for scientists that'll fucking pencil whip your handwritten explanation as to why the independent studies are wrong. And at the same time, we just watch them go and swab all your fucking planes and they found residue on everything. It's not much more scientific than that. The shit's physical. It's physical evidence that it's there. What do we got to do to convince you? We got to have some epidemiology? Is that what puts you over the top? So that you'll fucking...
Of that at the moment.
I guess the question is, what on earth are you waiting for? I mean, the oil companies continue to say that the heated product may be harmful by inhalation. They get it.
Yeah.
Why don't you get it?
Well, I...
Get him! Get him!
That is what they say, and I can't dispute what they say.
That's because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They really picked the wrong guy to fight this on the media. They really did. It's like, I can't confirm nor deny because my paycheck and shit, and you're gonna really get me fired today. Then I'm gonna have to go live in the asylum for idiots on a mattress in the basement. That's the video. I'm gonna cut it off there. I don't like playing the whole videos. So I guess the moral of the story is not everything is nutritional in our environment, and we kind of brought it home with the Monsanto issue, which is in our food, but it's also in our environment. You know, there's really not much you can do aside from avoiding these things entirely as much as you can. Obviously, if you don't fly in their planes, the problem is it's a flaw in the design, so it's not something you could narrow down to a single company either. But it's something that we need to be aware of if you're going to fly somewhere. Maybe bring you one of those masks or a filter or something. I'd be in there in a full mask now. After watching this and caring about my health, I would probably bring some kind of mask that will filter those fumes out of the air I'm breathing. I don't care if I look like a complete fucking moron on that plane. It's either that or the alternative, and that's you breathe that shit for 12, 23 hours if you're flying overseas, you know, or you're even stuck on the ground and fucking waiting for hours and hours on end. This puts a whole lot of perspective on that. They need to change the design. It's the only solution. They need to add detectors, which will go off all the time, which will make them have to change the fucking design. But in the meantime, I'd bring something to help you breathe on these planes. Something that has very, very good filters in it. Charcoal filters and all of that shit. And, I don't know, you can see in other countries in the world where the population walks around every day like wearing things to protect the air they're breathing. And, you know, I recently did an urbex where I wore a mask to help filter the air I was breathing because I knew that there were toxins and spores and things in the abandoned building. Problem is, we're just walking around in the world and that shit's just gonna happen. So, just raise a little awareness. If I were to fly again, I would definitely be bringing something to protect the air I'm breathing. That's my thoughts on that. But what the fuck do I know? I'm not a fucking expert. I'm just an asshole. Please like and subscribe for more shit. And I'll make more shit. This is actually a short video. Holy shit. What, 30 minutes? Wow. I don't know. Maybe I need to make 30-minute videos from now on. It's a lot easier. If you like this video, you found it enlightening. If I just saved you a lot of healthcare bills, because now you're going to protect your breathing when you go on a plane, please head to ScottTheTruckDriver.com and leave a tip in the virtual fucking tip jar. and I'll make more videos. Also, you can subscribe to my fucking email list. You just go down and there's at the bottom of all my web pages, you can sign up. And then every time I do some shit, or periodically, I'll do a couple things, and then I'll email you, because I can't afford to send 7 emails a week. It has to be 5. So, yeah, I will inform you whenever I'm going to go live. Check my calendar on my website as well to keep up with the scheduled streams, or follow me on DLive for my random shit streams, of which there might be a random shit stream tonight because there's something else I need to test today. But that'll be an informal hangout thing, and I don't generally need a lot of people to watch those. It's more of testing shit out or just hanging out with a few people and having fun. So, yeah, look forward to that later. And have a nice motherfucking day. What else will the corporations fuck up for us? It's all about profit. No health, just profit. Money, money, money. Even when they fuck up your health, the only recourse is to go and try and get money out of them. You won't change their ways. There's no punitive damage that they give a shit about unless you break down their whole corporation and send everyone to fucking jail, which we're not going to do. It's not going to happen. One can wish, though. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit. And stick around if you're on DLive. I'll sign off and say goodbye for now.